I was thinking about attention and impressions, and there's some things, I don't know if you've heard the there's sort of occult symbolism about the planets. There's much of it, but by occult I mean like hidden. I don't mean like, horrible black magic, rituals and stuff like that. I mean, like, a lot of this stuff is occult. To be in that meaning hidden is because it could really mess you up if you're not prepared for a lot of it. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen any Terence McKenna or heard him speak. He's like a he's something psychological, but he's a psychedelic speaker, pioneer, all that good stuff. And he has a pretty famous saying: there's no such thing as a bad trip on psychedelics. There's just too much information, right? So you got too much voltage in a circuit, too much of a signal in a circuit. And I think that's a lot of what occult sciences were talking about and what they were trying to hide for the uninitiated, because this could really mess people up. I mean, there's a lot of people in psych wards who, through no fault of their own, just had really intense experiences either from psychedelics or chemical imbalance personality disorders, and it happens all the time. All that to say, one of the worst trips you can have is by believing everything that your society tells you. Believe me, that's a bad trip. So what's going on is our personal development, growing as a human being, is talked about in many different ways, but not a lot of those ways are true necessarily, right? Like, basically, in Western society, you lose your virginity, you get a driver's license, you get a good job, you graduate, get a good job, you get a mortgage, you do all these things, and that'll develop you as a human being. We know that that's not true. So these are signals that are reflected from a type of true, but they're reflected. Kind of like, if you can see here, I'll get my stand, my trusty stand. Oh, right, I'll hold it up. So just like the sun, you can get rays directly from the sun, and you can get rays that reflect off the moon here. The moon doesn't have its own light, right? The moon reflects sunlight. And what that's a metaphor for is the social mask, the social development that we get, right? The fame, climbing the ladder, all of that. And those are not necessarily bad things, but they're not real deep in the core human development. That comes from the sun. The sun is active, right? The sun is actively meditating, yoga, shadow work, like whatever's healing you comes from the sun, right? So all the other superficial stuff is like, it's reflected off the moon. We take the moon for, it gives its own light, like the screen world, like our society, like fame and all the news and all that. We think it has its own light when really it's just propped up by all of our attention, right? If our attention wasn't there, right, which is the sun of our attention, which we direct inward, back to the sun, that creates a different type of body, a soul, some would say. If there wasn't any sun, there wouldn't be any light coming off the moon, right? It's, it's a little bit of a convoluted metaphor, but the truth is that building that self within, that inner sun, is the work that we do in meditation. And it's completely accessible to anyone who wants to do it. It's super possible in this lifetime. Not to say I'm an enlightened human being, but it's really important to talk about that, is that this can be done. The work never ends, but the work can change your life within a very, very short time. It's fantastic, and give your life back to you. But you have to start doing it yourself, with the teacher, but you have to make the choice to do it, because just by entropy or by passivity or by randomness, we're just going to get this. We're just going to get the moon. That's not a bad moon. I just did that. I'm getting better at this. We just get the reactive self, right? Everyone we know is living at some level in the reactive self, but very few of us are living in the creative self, the the individuation, as Jung put it. So yeah, I'm just wanted to put that out there because I was thinking a lot about planets and that those sort of symbols, alchemical symbols, and just to show that these weird kind of fantastic woodblock diagrams from like a few hundred years of these, with like double-headed dragons and stuff like that, they are just trying to guard a very important truth that is within all of our lives. I don't, not to say I understand all of it, but these things are very real and very practical, and they look super weird and they're cool to look at. So yeah, that's a little bit of a thought for there. The moon's already happening, but we can make the sun shine. Here comes the sun.